Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Pretty Fabulous Plan with Me podcast. Today we have Dama Jue with us. So, Dama, why don't you just introduce yourself and tell us a little about you?
Sure. So I am originally from San Francisco. I grew up basically in and around Silicon Valley. I'm a fog baby, and I went to school for accounting. Was very bored. Was very bored with it. Didn't love it, but it was the right recession-proof type choice for me. I graduated during the recession, and did that for like 8 or 10 years. I can't remember, and was very bored with it and was looking for other stuff. And so that led me to a big move. We moved abroad. I started my business, and then life has not looked the same since.
Oh, nice. So you could do your own bookkeeping and accounting, and you know all the finances. That's like a really great start, actually.
It's helpful. Like, I definitely have the finances down, but I still have, my accountant do my taxes for me. She knows I never did small business accounting. I always worked for corporate, either big corporations or in startups that were trying to trying to go public so they could raise funds and stuff. So it's very, very different world. My teeny tiny one human business versus my, the big corporation public accounting that I used to do. So I still have an accountant. I still let
Yeah,
her handle it.
that's still a good background. I mean, and you never know. You might grow to be a huge enterprise, big corporate firm.
We'll see. Actually, probably not.
It could
That is
happen.
not
You
my
never know.
goal.
Well, okay, so let's talk about where you are now. And do you miss San Francisco or?
Yeah, so I moved to Hudson Valley, New York. So I'm about an hour outside of San Francisco. Oh my goodness, not San Francisco. An hour outside of New York City, a little more than that. And it's very different. I live in the country. Like, my house backs up to an apple orchard, and we're always interested in what animals are coming by. But it was the right next step for us. We lived in Menlo Park, which was a mile from Facebook's headquarters. My husband worked
Mhm.
for Facebook for a while, all good stuff. But the cost of housing there and to buy a house was so high. So we started looking at other options. And my brother lives here in New York, and there's a big, a volunteer construction project happening soon. So there's kind of a couple different things that led to us leaving the Bay Area. And because of pandemic, my husband can work remote now. So we weren't forced to be in Silicon
Mhm.
Valley anymore. So that helped a lot.
Yeah, and I bet the cost of living just in general is like way easier, right?
Oh yeah.
Lower.
Oh yeah. Like a regular 3 bedroom, 1.5 bath, nothing special, nowhere, nothing special, small, tiny yard,
Mhm.
everything would easily be over $1 million.
Wow.
And where I live now, it's a fraction of that. And I have more space. And so
Right.
I got into gardening somewhere along the line, and I always wanted to build the garden of my dreams, and that's currently what is living rent free in my mind right now. It's February. There is snow on the ground outside, but
Uh-huh.
I'm very much excited for summer, and setting up the automations and stuff in my business so that I can be outside in the garden every single day. It's just I'm so excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, apple orchards, animals, gardens. You like live in those Hallmark movie settings where they're like, I'm gonna get
Not,
away from the
it's not quite that it's not that bougie, but it's just it's I live far enough from New York City where it's not very
Mhm.
expensive, so you get a little bit more land, and I can finally just I'm literally planting the garden of my dreams right now. It's super exciting for a big fat garden nerd like me.
Nice. Oh, and let's talk about Mr. Jew because he followed, he was like on board with the plan. Was it like a lot of convincing or how did that work?
Yeah, this man is amazing. This man's the love of my life. He's always been really open to new things, but it always has taken a little bit of warming up. So I can't just say, I want to move abroad tomorrow. That would never, ever fly. But if I give him some time to kind of come to grips with that idea. So the first big kind of shift that we ever did in our marriage was we quit our jobs, sold our stuff, and um, wanted and moved abroad. We moved to Central America for a year. And that had always been my goal and my dream. I wanted to volunteer. I wanted to teach. I wanted to do something completely different. We had both lived abroad. So I studied abroad in the Netherlands.
Mhm.
When I was in college, my husband lived abroad. He lived in Japan for a year. So we both had that experience and knew that getting out of your corner of the world, because we grew up like 20 minutes away from each other
Oh,
in San
cute.
Francisco Bay Area. So we had the exact same sort of similar upbringing. And so living abroad changed us both in an incredible way. So I always wanted to do it again. I still haven't really removed that itch. We went on vacation to Japan last year and I was like, how soon can I move here? I love it here. But I also felt the same when I like was in Cambodia and when I went to Italy and when I just
Mhm.
I love cultures and languages and meeting new people. And there's this sort of bewildering, I'm in a foreign country and I kind of don't know what I'm doing, that I absolutely love. So we like to travel a lot. So travel was okay. But like leaving our jobs and our stuff, at that time I had a really great job. I was working in as a fund accountant for the school district. So I had like
Mhm.
epic killer benefits. I had a real cake schedule. I was working 20 hours a week, but had full benefits and
Wow.
was able to volunteer and work. And it just, we had so many nice things lined up. But the yin to go like live abroad and volunteer and teach, like it just, I couldn't shake it. So we planned that for several years and it just, we made like strategically kind of broke it down and made it happen. The only thing I didn't do before we left the country was line up remote work, but this is
Mm.
pre-pandemic. It was like remote work was an absolute like pie in the sky dream. It's not as common as it is today. So I didn't make any plans. I just was like, we'll just save, and then we'll just live off of our savings while we get there. So we were in the Yucatan, which is like the you could say like the Cancun side of
Mhm.
Mexico, but we were down further south, about 6 hours south of Cancun, next to the Belize border. And I just thought, well, we'll figure something out, or we'll live off our savings, whatever. And it just so happened that we had like a big financial setback right when we got there, kind of
Mm.
unexpected imports thing. And then it was like, oh, maybe we should look for work. And I just sort of took for granted that because I was an accountant with, with like a degree and
Mhm.
8 or 10 years experience and blah, 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 that I would find it easy to get bookkeeper work at home. But I really, like abroad, I really couldn't get it. I interviewed at
Mm.
places and it was kind of sketch like, okay, you speak English well, but like, you live abroad. We can't meet you in person. I don't really want to trust you with my
Aw.
books. And I didn't know anyone. I couldn't get referrals. It was not good. It was not my best hatch plan.
Aw.
So that's what actually led me to the online world. I was a big Pinterest junkie. Pinterest was my favorite social media platform. And I just started seeing stuff about like working and living abroad and kind of getting the ideas. Like maybe I should teach English to kids in Asia, or maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that. And then I found a course that was like a group program essentially. Now in common
Mhm.
like course creator parlance, I didn't know what I was like sort of getting into, but essentially it was like a group program on how to become a Pinterest manager. And like the tuition in my mind at the time was astronomical. I think it was like $799. It was $800. We're living in a country where that was like three times our rent or four times
Right.
our rent. It was like, and we had like no money, we were on a very fixed, like no way of earning and
Mhm.
living off of our savings. And we had been in the country for a couple months and still wanted to be there for the full year. So I hemmed and hawed about it for months, but eventually my husband was like, if you do the course, are you going to do the work? And are you going to do the thing that you're going to start a Pinterest business? And I was like, yes. And he's like, is that a yes? And I'm like, yes, it's a yes. Like, yes, I'm going to see it through. And so he's like, then just do it. Like, stop. My husband's always had much better at like money mindset than I do. I'm
Mhm.
always more like skeptical with buying things. So he said, just do it and know you're going to go all in. You have the time. We literally are like just endless amounts of time. So
Mhm.
just do it. So anyway, I joined that program. It did really well. I got my first client like within 3 or 4 weeks. I started
Wow.
with Upwork, and then I got my next client through Upwork, and then I started just like they posted referrals to like clients that were hiring
Mhm.
as part of the program, and then I just took off from there. I got better and better, and then before I realized it, I was like, oh my God, this little online business thing, I'm making $1,000 a month. Like this is
Mhm.
mind blowing. And then by the time we came home from our year abroad, um, there was something else going on. As a kind of like at a turning point. The business I was making about, I want to say 1,500 a month, which is
Mhm.
not enough if you live in Silicon Valley. Like San Francisco is one of the most expensive cities in the country. Incredibly expensive place to live. That's nothing if you're going to live in the Bay Area. And so I was kind of at this turning point of like, well, do I stick with it and keep going? I've had incredible success in the past. I started my business in April and we moved home in August or end of
Mhm.
July, August. So I'd only been doing it for like 5 months, but I was like, or 4 months. And I was like, but I'm making 1,500 a month. Like, can I keep doing this? So I interviewed for an accounting job, and on the interview, like halfway through, I was like, yeah, I really don't want to do this. I don't care about debits and credits. Like, this is not interesting or exciting to me. I am over this, you know? So my husband got a job straight away because, he's smart and we're back in Silicon Valley. He was fine. He got something.
Mhm.
And so anyway, long story short, I was at this turning point and I was like, yep, I'm going to do it. And I invested in a coach that like a coaching program, a gal I'd been following. I knew she knew her stuff and she knew I had it in me to kind of grow this thing. So
Mhm.
I took another leap, invested in a coaching program. It was like a 3-month program. And by the end of that, I think my business was bringing in like 4K a month. And I was like, okay, we're doing this. Like, this is what I do now. I have a business. And so anyway, that's my business
Very
origin story. It's evolved and morphed quite a bit over the years, but that's, sort of how I ended up getting into the online space.
And then, so Mr. Jew at this time, who's super supportive, that's so
Yes.
amazing. Did he like jump in and start helping out with the business, or how does that work?
Yeah, I planted that seed at a certain point because I was like, we should move, like we should plan on moving abroad again. And, you can work in the business. And he was like not super interested in that. He has still, and to this day, always been my absolute best business coach. Whenever I'm in a program and they're like, you should do this, you should hire lots of employees, or you scale with ads or create a blah, blah, blah. And I just like it wasn't feeling right for me. He
Mhm.
has always been the absolute best business coach because he knows me better than anyone else. He also knows my goals and what makes me tick and what exhausts me. And so he's always been a really incredible support as I built a business. It basically, this business was supposed to be like a thing that maybe helped with like our expenses while we were living abroad.
Mhm.
And it turned into like a whole new career path for me. And he's been really supportive along the way. He's kind of like, I was running a summit for a client once and was like so over my head, like deep in the weeds of work. And I needed some video editing done. And he's like, I'll help, and he just like helped me because it was like 11 p.m. on a Friday night and the summit was like the next day and I was like way in the weeds. So yeah, he's helped a little bit, but mainly he just kind of does his thing. And he just supports me as I'm making my business decisions. Usually the investments. I'm usually the one who's like, I don't need it. And he's like, will you just upgrade already?
Well, that's nice. And then, so it's kind of funny. I didn't realize you started out as Pinterest. You don't even
Forever
teach
ago. Yeah.
Pinterest. It's like not even like a part of your persona anymore.
No, in fact, I have somebody helping me with my Pinterest. It's all full circle. So I started with Pinterest because I liked it. And then I
Uh-huh.
very quickly felt like it was. So the job of a Pinterest manager is to take existing content and just share it on Pinterest, create pins or
Mhm.
write descriptions. But I always liked to write as a kid. And it's not something I was doing at all as an accountant. And I liked design stuff. But again, creative accounting, that's a bad phrase. Right? So, like, not at all. And so it kind of stirred up in me some stuff that I really wanted to nurture, but I was very hemmed in. Like, here's 700 blog posts, create new
Mhm.
pins and schedule them out and write descriptions. And it was very, like, to me, very tedious. I'll be really blunt. I found it boring.
Mhm.
And I'm not the kind of person who's like, I'll just watch Gilmore Girls and do boring work. I like to dig in. I like to problem solve. I like to write. And so it didn't take very long for me to be kind of bored. So I started my business in April and I had signed this client in like, I want to say like August or September. And by October, I was like, you really like your email marketing. Like I signed up for your form and it's not going anywhere. And she's like, oh, someone set that up for me and I don't know how to use it. And I was like, well, do you have a welcome sequence? And she's like, no. And I was like, I can do that for you. So like very quickly, I want to say within 6 months of starting my Pinterest business, I was like, I want to see what's happening on the other side because I'm bringing you clicks and traffic, but nothing's happening. You're not seeing
Mhm.
results because you don't have the foundations. So I set up her email marketing for her and her lead magnet and her welcome sequence. And I was like, oh, I like this. this is fun. Let's talk about, like I just kind of got into funnels that way. And then she and I went on to build. I was with that client for many years, and like I ran her first summit, and it was like a 90 something $1,000 summit. That was the one where I was like
Mhm.
up at all hours of the night, sleeping very little because I was so invested in how well it went for her. And I also just grossly underestimated how much time summits take.
Yes.
And then like, yeah, so very quickly I started pivoting or started getting into funnels. And then within a year of starting my business, I was in a funnel certification program, and that literally changed everything. I was like, oh yeah, I don't want to do Pinterest anymore. I want to do this. I want to do this. Funnels like felt like a deep cave I could always explore, and there was
Mhm.
always new branches. I've never, and I haven't gotten off of that. So I'm still very much into funnels, and I was like almost allergic to Pinterest within like a year of just like, I really
Mhm.
don't want to do this anymore because I found it sort of tedious.
Yeah.
I see the value in it in my business and stuff, but yeah, I just didn't want to do it. So
Well,
that
let's talk
led me down a whole nother branch.
Yeah, let's talk to you a little bit more about your origin story, because I love the fact that most people are like, "Oh, I just wanted to have more time to drive little Susie to ballet practice and little Johnny to baseball practice." But you were like, "I really want to help volunteer." And
Yeah.
so like, where did that passion come from, and like what do you like volunteering at?
Yeah, so I have always, I not always, but for most of my adult life, have just taken a lot of joy in that. So I learned that
Mhm.
from my family. My family are all actively like involved in our church, and also all actively different various sort of streams of volunteering. So my mom cooks every Monday at a kitchen, and then I joined her on the kitchen crew, and it was like make mac and cheese for 150 people. Okay, like I'm gonna go panic and breathe into a paper bag and Google it really
Mhm.
quick because I don't know how to, like I like to cook, but it was just really interesting, and I loved that I was always meeting new people who had this like passion to volunteer and to help others. And so it's led me a lot of places. So yes, making mac and cheese for 150 people,
Mhm.
working on a massive construction site where it was like, yeah, so I've done a lot of volunteer construction and teaching and cooking, like maintenance. And I mean, I've dug landscaping, irrigation, like I've done a
Mhm.
lot of stuff. I love it because there's sort of this thing where like if you have straight hair you always wish you had curly, and if you had curly hair you always wish you had straight,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm a computer person, right? Like I'm always in a cubicle, and my corporate job as an accountant I was always in my cubicle wishing I
Mhm.
could work outside, and it was always like a very silent quiet job, like focus and get through my journal entries, but I always wish like there was more teamwork and social interaction. So you're always sort of craving what you're not getting in work.
Mhm.
And so what I like about that was the variety. It was nothing at all like work. Work has
Mhm.
never been like, oh, this is my life passion. Helping people and volunteering has always been my life passion. So the whole reason I ended up with a 20-hour a week accounting job was because I wanted to make time to volunteer. And then I just had the bug of wanting to live abroad and just like, let's just not work for a year. A lot of things really panned out for us to do that. We had a single buddy who was like, had just proposed, and he's getting married in a year. So he needed an apartment for a year
Mhm.
because then he was going to move. And we're like, well, you can rent our apartment for a year, and like it all really just worked out. It worked out really nicely. I think the hardest thing was leaving my corporate job, my accounting job at the school, because I had like bananas amazing schedule and benefits,
Right.
but that's like a leap of faith that we felt really rewarded for. And so I'm glad we went for it. But yeah, lots of different things. Yeah, it's something I always observed. My dad, I remember being a kid and my dad would go do volunteer construction projects, and my mom works in a kitchen, and my sister teaches. So like there's just so many things like I see that, and I see the joy it brings them,
Mhm.
and now it's just the priority in my life, and then I fit work and biz and everything else around it.
Okay. So you're doing all sorts of things. There's no like you just like the variety. It's not like a
Yeah.
particular activity like house building or cooking or a
I
specific
like it all.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it all.
In Central America, did you learn how to speak Spanish there, or did you already know?
No. So I'm Mexican. I grew up in a bilingual household. So I have
Mhm.
always been bilingual, English and Spanish. English is my heart language. That's what I spoke with my siblings and watched
Mhm.
cartoons in English. but always like communicated with my grandparents, and less so with my parents. They speak really good English, but we could always slide in and out of Spanish. So for me, it's my second language. For my husband, he didn't speak it though, so he had to learn. He kind of just jumped in and went for the immersion. And then when that wasn't going as fast as he wanted, he started taking like online courses, and that helped a lot.
All right. Are you guys high school sweethearts?
No, no,
Oh,
we met like later in life. I was 29, he was 32. So
that's crazy. But
yeah.
you grew up like next to each other.
Yeah, we apparently knew some people in common. We just never met.
Wow. What a small world. Awesome. So let's also talk. I was reading your bio and I was like, power naps. I love the idea of power. You're the only person that admits naps because most people are like, oh, I'll nap when I'm like 80 or something.
No way. This is like, yeah, I don't admit naps. I advocate. I advocate for naps. So I started it when, first of all, my sister is the person who can take like 4 hour naps. I cannot. If I take a long nap, I wake up and I'm like groggy, more tired than I was before. What day is it? So I take 20-minute naps. When I was in high school, I've always been I always have had kind of workaholic tendencies. So I was going to school. I had a receptionist job in the afternoon and I worked at Starbucks at nights. So I was like two jobs. I really didn't want to get into like student loan debt. I wanted to finish school without debt. So I like was working my butt off. And my receptionist job, I got like you couldn't leave the desk because like a 4 hour shift from 2 to 6 or whatever, and you could not leave the desk except somebody would come and relieve me for a 20-minute nap. So I would sneak off to like a conference room, turn off the light, and just like power down I'd set a timer for 20 minutes and take like an exactly 19-minute nap. And honestly, it made all the difference. So I've kind of carried that throughout my life. I still plan for and absolutely adore a 20-minute nap. I just feel better. We'll probably take one right after this, especially when I'm like peopling and like there's something really high exertion.
Uh-huh.
Or if I'm going to go do something that night and I'm like, oh, there's going to be a lot of people at this party, like I'll take a 20. And it just, I don't know, I feel so much better when I do. So naps are a point of pride. I'm also like not athletically gifted or artistically gifted. Like I can't sing, I can't paint, I can't roller skate, like I can't do anything, but I'm very good at napping. Like I'm an Olympic napper. I will set a 23-minute timer on my phone and be out cold within 1 minute and take that 20-minute nap and then get up and just like go and do a thing and feel so
Is it just like you can just like nap anywhere, or do you need like ambiance or essential oils or
I can nap anywhere, anytime. Like
oh,
there's
nice.
there was a skylight in my room growing up, so I
Uh-huh.
can nap in broad daylight. Like you can't be a teenager and like, oh, I wake up with the sun, right? So I just grew up with like the skylight blasting my face. I can nap through that. And Mexican households are very loud. So I grew up in a very loud, everybody communicates like shouting, and it's just normal part of my culture. So loud doesn't bother me. I've slept through, as a kid, would fall asleep at the table at like lots of parties while my parents were dancing or whatever. Like it's just, I can sleep through anything. Noise,
Wow.
light does not bother me.
I mean, I think we should call that your superpower.
Thank you. I think it's my Olympic skill. Like
Yeah,
if only this were an Olympic sport, I would be a gold medalist in
for
sleeping.
sure. And this has nothing to do, even if you get like a full 8 hours of sleep at night, you can still like turn it on, right?
I mean, I can get less than that. Just lately, like honestly, this is so topical, but in the last month, I've been not getting the best sleep, and I don't know maybe it's I don't know what it is, age or whatever. But lately,
Mhm.
I've been waking up at like it's 4. Okay, go back to sleep. I'm waking up at 5. So
Wow.
lately, I've been drinking. I don't know if you've heard of the Sleepy Girl mocktail. It's like tart
Uh-uh.
cherry juice and magnesium, and like it's a little like elixir you make yourself before bed. So now I'm sleeping a solid sound 8 hours at night again, but for a terrible month and a half, I wasn't. So
Huh. Never heard of that. I'm going to look that up. All right.
yeah, I
So
saw it on Instagram, of course.
that's really cool. Almost as cool as the fact that you've named your computer Giancarlo.
Oh, I name everything. So I
Oh,
name my phone, I name my computer. I mean, my dog has like 17 different names and he will respond to them, like all basically. But yeah, I named my first computer was Giovanni. My
uh-huh.
second, that was my MacBook, like my first MacBook that my husband gave me while we were living abroad. And I was trying to like run my business through my tablet. And he's like, this is sad. You can have this MacBook. And I was like, I don't know how to use a Mac. So anyway, that was Giovanni. My current computer is Giancarlo. But just last week, I ordered a new MacBook. Again, my husband was like, it's been 4 years. You need a new MacBook. You're editing a lot of video and it's a drain on your computer, you know. So my new computer, I've been saving up for it for like 6 months. It's on the way. I've ordered it. It's going to get here next week. And I still don't know what I'm going to name it, but it will probably be an Italian name. It'll probably be another Italian man's name. But I do love those names, Giovanni and Giancarlo. So who knows what the next one will be. I have to wait till I meet him. I can't name him before I meet him.
Oh,
weird.
Nice. And so let's go through your whole tech stack. Like, what do you like to use for everything?
Yeah. So for my website, I use WordPress. I am an Elementor girl. I've messed around with Beaver Builder and a few other things. But I like Elementor because it just seems to be they're always adding new stuff to it. So WordPress, Elementor. That's the first time I ever cried over my business because I was like, why is WordPress so hard? I was like in Mexico watching YouTube tutorials, trying to figure out how to set up my website. And I was like, yes. Did I just cry a tear because of WordPress? Yeah.
It is.
So that happened. But I've stuck with WordPress. I'm comfortable with it now. So yeah, WordPress, Elementor, my Thrivecart template shop web theme is just from Blue Sheep. I just bought a template and quickly customized it. I just wanted to get that brand off the ground. My personal website, Dama Jue, is an all custom build. And then let's see. So for email, I was with MailerLite for a while. I tried ActiveCampaign for a couple months, loved it, and then hated it. And now I'm with Drip. So when people ask me if they want to get started with digital products or whatever, I usually recommend MailerLite if you're just starting out and you really want to be sure you're on a free plan. But just know that you can't stay with MailerLite forever because you'll outgrow it. Which I did. So now if you're kind of more serious about email marketing, I would recommend ConvertKit or Drip. I personally like Drip because I don't like ConvertKit's like email builder. I really like things to be beautiful and branded, and felt like ConvertKit kind of limited me with that, but I think it has the best integrations. So you can't go wrong with either Drip or ConvertKit. For webinar software, I just use Zoom. I have never paid for Demio or Easy Webinar or whatever because I don't need the features they recommend. Like sometimes they take away the ability to speed up or to pause or to rewind. I can't stand that. But let people control their replay and take in the video how they want, personally for me. So I just use Zoom. And I realized, was it last year or a year before that you don't even have to pay for Zoom webinar. I just use Zoom meetings. I save myself the $50 or the $80 or whatever, how much Zoom webinar is. If you know how to manipulate the controls of Zoom, you can still have a really high quality webinar with just Zoom regular. And in fact, I have like a $9 training called Replay Ready Recordings, and it actually goes through how to just skip the whole Zoom webinar upgrade and just use your regular paid Zoom account, but still prevent people from unmuting or doing this or doing that, and being able to customize the recordings. Like if you don't want the gallery to show, all that stuff is available. Zoom doesn't make it easy for you, but it's all there. So anyway, yeah, I use Zoom for that. What was that? What else did you ask me? Social media?
So video editing, what software are you using?
Oh, I use ScreenPal. So it used to be called Screencast-O-Matic. I use that to record my screen, record my videos. I also use it to edit. So like add a text overlay, or if I said something wrong, like, I meant to say, like if it said Screencast-O-Matic, I might add a text overlay that says they now go by ScreenPal, or, whatever. Draw arrows, draw boxes, cut, adjust the speed. It's very robust. The desktop app, I use a desktop app on Mac, and it's very robust. So I can do a lot with it. That makes me feel like a rock star, because I tried Adobe Premiere and a few other things, and I was just like, I don't know how to do any of this. I feel like I need a degree in order to edit this, where ScreenPal just let me get off the ground. So I've been using ScreenPal for years, like 4 years now. So it records, lets me edit, and then I can also upload it, and it hosts my videos too. So then I can just grab the embed code, add my subtitles if I want, or add a thumbnail and embed those in my courses. So basically all video, I use ScreenPal.
And then are you using Canva to create your PDFs and all your graphics?
Yeah, so I use Canva. I love Canva. I don't create PDFs with Canva anymore, because then I want things to be like workbooks. I want them to be interactive and for people to get something out of them. And actionable. What I found that it was taking me forever to create a PDF in Canva and then add the little boxes to like make this
Mhm.
checkable or make it fillable. And then people would accidentally overwrite their results or they would lose it. And so like in 2021, I sort of stopped using Canva for freebies and fillable workbooks. And instead, I use Google Docs for that because then they can seems like everybody has a Google account or,
Yeah.
like a Gmail account or whatever. They can copy it into their Google Drive. And now it really is fillable. And if it's like brainstorm, what are 3 words that describe your brand or whatever, as an
Mhm.
example, they can actually type them in. No one ever has to make it fillable because it's a Google Doc. It's fillable. It's just is by nature. So I've been doing that since 2021. I can't stand PDFs that like when I get
Mhm.
a course, like a freebie or a PDF in a course, and it has room to like fill in, but you can't type in it. They didn't make it
Mhm.
fillable. It drives me
Yeah.
nuts. So I'm just like, not everybody prints. So I usually prefer to do a Google Doc workbook. And I have a $9 training that I created last year. It's coming up on its 1-year birthday. It'll be next month in March. Um, People had always asked me like, why do you do Google workbooks or Google Docs instead of PDFs? And I had all these reasons. And I was like, I just basically wrote my sales page copy. Like I should teach this. And so I created that training last March. And then like 2,000 people bought it like
Very
within a
cool.
month. And I was like, what is happening? This is what, like, I don't understand what's happening, but I think there's just such mass appeal. Everybody has Google Docs. So it's like a 50-minute training that walks you through start to
Mhm.
finish, how to create a fillable workbook, how to make it branded and beautiful without spending forever on it, how to share it, how to turn it into a digital product, how to make a mock-up for it, all of it. And honestly, there's like almost 5,000 people now in that
Mhm.
training. They love it. I get, people message me all the time or they tag me. It's got a life of its own on brand fillable workbooks. This $9 thing is just taken off and I'm really proud of it. People love it. So yeah,
Great.
I use Canva to design slide decks or
Mhm.
promo graphics. I use Canva every day. I love Canva, but I just found specifically, since you asked me about PDFs, I
Mhm.
found specifically for freebies and course bonuses and low ticket digital products, it just works better to have it as a Google Doc. And turns out that lots of people agree and they
Yeah.
really like it. So
And then, so you are still using Deadline Funnel, right? Because I actually bought Countdown Timer because you had it in a newsletter, but you
yeah,
stuck with Deadline Funnel, right?
yeah. So countdown. I love Deadline Funnel. Like as a funnel
Mhm.
strategist, as a funnel builder, Deadline Funnel is my comfort zone. I am so comfortable with it. But last year, I bought Countdown Hero. I reviewed it. I poked around with it. I was like, okay, it has most of the features that
Mhm.
Deadline Funnel does.
Yeah.
And Deadline Funnel is really expensive. So I do still have Deadline Funnel. I'm on their plan that is like normally like 89 bucks a month, which is
Mhm.
bananas. But I got like a discounted rate at Black Friday. So I think I pay like maybe 600 a year and I love it, but that's still a lot of money, right? I mean, that's a lot of
Yeah.
money. So I am slowly in transition. My annual, like for Deadline Funnel, renews in May. So my goal is to get completely switched over to Countdown Hero. And in fact, just yesterday made a new funnel live with Countdown Hero. So it's a learning process for me. I personally still prefer Deadline Funnel. So if money is no object, I actually still use and recommend Deadline Funnel. And even now, as I'm building in Countdown Hero, I'm just like,
Mhm.
I would know how to do this in Deadline Funnel without having to Google or test. Mm, it's just, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say you get what you pay for. Deadline Funnel it's been around a long time. So it's
Mhm.
a much more robust, I find personally, a lot of people don't agree with me, but I find it very easy to use. Countdown Hero is really good. It's a lot cheaper. It's like what, 69 for the
Yeah.
lowest tier lifetime, or upgrade to
So
get
much
the
cheaper.
99. I mean, for 99 bucks forever, it's an incredible deal, which is why I
Mhm.
bought it, right? And which is why I tested it and I recommended it to my audience, and I still stand behind that. But you'll find everywhere I mention Countdown Hero, I'm like, Deadline Funnel is still the best, but for a more affordable option, Countdown Hero. So I think they're both really good softwares. I just happen to like Deadline Funnel better. But yes, trying to economize on my expenses and stuff.
Mhm.
So I am making the slow, gradual switch from Deadline Funnel to Countdown Hero.
Yeah, I love that you put that in your newsletter. It's been so helpful because I'm like, oh, what is Dama using? I should do that too. She's
I
like,
love
all
talking
tips.
about my tech stack. Everybody likes to talk about my tech stack. So
Yeah.
I'm a big, huge tech nerd. I guess that's the Silicon Valley in me. I love
Mhm.
testing out new tech, and I approach new tech with. So I don't know if you ever heard of Good Eats on the Food Network, Alton Brown. So
No.
I love cooking shows, and he has this a really nerdy, scientific, very cool cooking show called Good Eats, or he
Mhm.
used to anyway. And he has this like rule against unitaskers. So like you should never buy a tool that only does one thing, in your kitchen. Like for example, those like a viral waffle maker for
Uh-huh.
one. He would never advocate buying that tool because it's like it only does one thing. It only serves one person. All your tools should serve multiple purposes. So I've kind
Right.
of carried that into my business. So I use Thrivecart, which is a checkout software, but I use it for a million other things because it's capable of a million
Mhm.
other things. I noticed with Drip, like, sure, you can set up an email, but you can do a million other things that are snazzy and cool and fun and engaging and help drive sales. Same with Airtable. Yes, it's a database software, but I could do a bajillion other things with it. So
Mhm.
I kind of have that approach to the tech in my business. I really don't like it when it only does one thing. It's like I do the
Mhm.
one thing only. So I'm always looking for creative ways to explore the tech that I use and get the most money for my, like, bang for my buck. Like if I'm paying
Right.
for this, like I want it to do all the things. I want to know what else can it do that maybe can save me zaps, or I can save me this or save
Mhm.
me money, or I can cancel this other thing that I'm using. So I'm big on like really trying to dig into your tech and get the most out of it.
Okay. Yeah. And so speaking of tech, you really like love Thrivecart, obviously. And that's like the thing that you were that's kind of how I found you.
Yeah.
How did you decide like that's the tech that I like and that I want to create a shop for that?
Yeah, so in 2020, I was doing my first big digital product launch. I had come up with a digital product that I knew was going to be good. It was
Mhm.
something in my Pinterest business because as I mentioned a little bit earlier, like I found it a little tedious
Right.
to write the captions for hundreds of, the pin descriptions for hundreds of pins that I was doing for multiple clients every single month. It was just a lot and it was boring. So, and this is in the pre-Chat GPT days where you couldn't just tell Chat GPT to write the pin description for you. Like you actually, this human had to write it and it was boring. So I created a pin copy generator where you put in a few keywords and it would spit out multiple varieties of pin descriptions. And I could just copy and paste and like move
Mhm.
through my work so much faster. So I knew it was going to be a good digital product. I was getting ready to do my launch for it for Black Friday of 2020. And I had to choose, how am I going to take payment? How am I going to find a way to take people's payment and do it efficiently and responsibly and blah, blah, blah. So I had to
Mhm.
choose a checkout software, and my old, I don't like to spend money mindset came in, and I knew that I had heard about Thrivecart. I knew it was a lifetime deal. I knew I could get it for $4.95 and it be mine forever. But I didn't want to spend that money because I wasn't sure if my digital product would make
Mm.
$495. And my husband is like, just get it, like you've already, like, it's good. Like all your friends are using it, just get
Uh-huh.
it. So I hesitated and I didn't. And I used a free checkout for my Black Friday launch. My Black Friday sale for 2020 ended up bringing in over $5,000, which I was shocked by, just shocked. And if I'd known that, then I would have bought Thrivecart before, but anyway, I didn't. So as soon as that was over and I had 15 different problems with that free checkout software, like
Aw.
I had a million different problems. Actually, it wasn't free. I think it was $99. Yeah, it was a WordPress plugin called Upsell plugin. And I'm
Okay.
sure if the creator is out there somewhere, I'm sure his software is better, but I had a lot of problems with it back in 2020 and made a lot of headaches. So as soon as my launch was over, my husband's like, well, you just bought us a trip to Paris for our 10-year anniversary, whenever that,
Nice.
happens. And buy yourself Thrivecart already. I'm tired of hearing about Thrivecart. Please go just buy it. Like buy it. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay. So I bought it in 2020.
Uh-huh.
A month or so after my Black Friday launch. Like, this is it. I've got to do it. So I knew it
And
was the right software, but I hadn't used it for myself, but I was
Mhm.
already using it for clients because at that point
Oh.
I was getting booked for funnel builds and summit
Uh-huh.
builds, and I knew it was good software. So I had already, by the time I bought it for myself, I already knew how to use it. So I was using it for clients who, had funnels and they needed work. So yeah,
Did you look at the other ones like Samcart or
yeah.
ClickFunnels or Sendowl, any of that?
Yeah, I dabbled with ClickFunnels. I didn't like it. I didn't
Mhm.
like just wasn't the right fit for me. I didn't like the way that it sort of forces you to, yeah, I just didn't love it. As a
The
funnel
interface
builder,
and
like
everything.
I knew
Mhm.
ClickFunnels wasn't it for me. I experimented with drop funnels and I did build a funnel for a client and she's still using it to this day.
Hmm.
It's fine. It's also sort of like Beaver Builder, but not. It's fine. It's pretty good software, but I wasn't convinced that I wanted it. I
Mhm.
looked at Samcart. Samcart was expensive. It was like for what I wanted. I wanted an affiliate program because by 2020, I had already made, I was already making four figures in affiliate income. And I knew
Mhm.
that affiliate income is amazing and I loved earning it. I also wanted to, if I'm going to have digital products, like it's a natch, I have to have an affiliate program for my
Right.
digital products. So for Samcart, in order to have an affiliate program, you have to be on like the highest tier, which is
Mhm.
currently like $300 a month. At that time, it was less. It might have been like 159 or 199, but I was like, absolutely not. I think it was 199.
It's
But
really
for
expensive.
3
Yeah, it's
months
always
of,
been really expensive. Yeah.
yeah, right. So in 2020, for 3 months of Samcart with an affiliate program, I bought Thrivecart for lifetime. So for me, the
Mhm.
math just mathed, and I knew it was going to work. I knew that I wanted that. I looked at a few other things. I looked at Sendowl. I didn't like that
Mhm.
it took a percentage of every sale for
Mm.
forever. I liked that Thrivecart, I pay them once and then I don't have to pay them anymore. And then I can just grow this business. Because by 2020, I was like, okay, I've had a business for a year and a half. I keep growing it. It just keeps getting bigger. It keeps
Mhm.
becoming more of what I want and less of what I don't want, and it's working. So I didn't want to commit to something like Gumroad or Sendowl, or a new one is Lemon Squeezy where they take a
Mhm.
percentage of every sale. Because if I were on any of those platforms right now, I would owe them like, they would be keeping like 20, $30,000 a year from me. I did the math recently and I was
Mhm.
blown away by how much. I'm just glad that I chose Thrivecart because I paid for it in 2020 after I had a good launch. And I was like, okay, I have a little extra. I'm just going to grab this. And I haven't paid them since. So that worked
Nice.
out for me really
Very
well.
cool. And you've also expanded because you did so much work, it sounds like doing virtual summits and then you put
Mhm.
together bundles. Which one do you think is more profitable?
It totally depends. It really depends. It's so hard to predict. If you are in a digital product space where no one has done a bundle yet,
Mhm.
so say you are I don't know, a fiber artist, you do macrame and weavings and this and that,
Mhm.
and there are some of your friends have digital products like how to get started with this or how to do that, and if you've no one in your space has done a bundle, that is your opportunity.
Okay.
Immediately do a bundle like yesterday. It's harder in spaces like mine where it's like marketers marketing to marketers, like like there's a lot of bundles in my space, so it's a little bit harder, but they can still be really lucrative and profitable. The last three clients of mine who did bundles, like I had two last year with 22 and 20K bundle. I had a photographer do a bundle and he made 25K. So it's still very possible to have good income from it. Summits, of all the summits I created, it's really unpredictable. I had summits that, one client made like 1800 and she was thrilled. I had another client where I mentioned earlier, she made 92K with her summit, and
Mhm.
that blew all expectations. Like we thought we'd make maybe 18, not 92. It was bananas. I had other clients who were hoping for 12 and we made 18, so it really varies. It's so hard to predict based
Mhm.
on B2C versus B2B and saturation and all those things. It's too hard to predict.
Okay.
I just know that bundles personally are less work. So push comes to shove, I prefer to do a bundle, either a free or a paid
Mhm.
bundle. I've always done paid bundles, but I think free bundles can be really great for list growth. Summits are just a ton of work. No
Mm.
two shakes about it. I've had my hands in enough summits, and some were small, some were like
Mhm.
12 speakers, and some were massive with 40 or 50 speakers. They're just a ton of work. No matter how much automation you apply to it, it's a lot of work. So it's a trade-off.
Okay, cool. And then I think Karen was trying to ask, do you spend a lot of time marketing for your sales? I guess, are you doing a lot of organic sales, using your mailing list or paid
Yeah.
ads?
For that, let's see. I do spend a lot of time marketing, but I love marketing. So
Mhm.
my number one thing is I'm always emailing my list. I'm not the person who emails like 17 times a week. I email once, maybe twice a week, unless I have a special promotion going on. And I like to, there's two things I always do. I'm always sharing some value, some intel, some
Mhm.
nugget that I've gleaned from my running a marketing business. And then I'm always selling in every email. I never send a pure value email ever, or just an email where there's nothing to click. Never. I just don't, because it's a marketing channel. So there's always either an affiliate mention,
Mhm.
or something I'll, casually hint like, oh, I happened upon this workbook the other day, and then I'll link the word workbook to my on-brand fillable workbooks training or
Mhm.
something like that. Like, just casual. It's never like hard sell, but I'm always mentioning things that folks might be in need of, right? You never know when folks are going to need something. So, and then I also have a custom footer that I do in every single email. It's updated 1 to 3 times a week. And so it's always what's top of mind. It's called my 4x4 footer. And that always
Mhm.
brings in sales and affiliate income too. So email marketing is my priority. I make sure that no matter what I'm doing, I email my list at least once a
Mhm.
week. And then a lot of the rest of the time spent marketing is on either product creation, product improvement, or list building. So where I'm participating, I'm speaking in a summit, or I'm on someone's podcast, or I'm promoting, promoting freebies or something like that. You have to balance growing your audience and then marketing to the audience you have. It's too easy to get really focused on doing one and to grow your list and to spend 6 months building, a summit or something, and then you never
Mhm.
sell to your list. You can also do the opposite and only sell all the time and never grow your list. So even
Mhm.
somebody who loves and I'm comfortable, and I feel like maybe I can say this humbly, I'm fairly good at email marketing. Every
Mhm.
single time I send an email, there are unsubscribes. So every single time I email, people are dropping off my list. It's not a high number, but you've got to keep, if there's a little water leaking, like, that's okay. We just keep adding more, right? So I try and balance my time between marketing, so like actually selling and promoting stuff, list growth, and then product creation. My favorite thing is I really love writing emails, and I really like mapping out and creating or improving existing products. So the list growth I'm not as good at. Like, I just want to talk. So that's the thing I have to push myself to do.
No, you're doing a fabulous job with the email. I would never unsubscribe. I'm like, I'm just like so excited. I'm like, oh, it's an email from Dama. What is she talking about? What is she going to say? So, and you have a training for that too, right? For the 4x4.
Yeah, I did this training actually just in January of 2024 because I had a lot of people asking about my email, like my 4x4 strategy. And then I started seeing, actually, no, they didn't ask. I just started seeing copycats, and I was like, you guys, I think you're missing the point. Like, can I at least share my strategy with you? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that if you buy the training, then you'll not only get my strategy, you'll also get templates, and then you won't have to feel like you copied the thing, like you actually
Mm-hmm.
learned it and you implemented it, and I can support you. So I taught this training in January 2024, and I'm blown away by how many people have joined and love it. So it was like a live workshop, and folks were getting their, like, once I, hit the replay, sent the replay on the strategy recording, and also shared the tech tutorials and the templates, folks were sending me screenshots of their custom 4x4 footer like that afternoon or the next day. So people are getting this set up in an afternoon, and it's increasing their click rate. It's increasing their open rate. Because I actually have had people tell me, I love your emails, but I can't always read them because usually write kind of long emails. I know that
Mhm.
about myself. I can't help it. But I've had people say like, I don't always have time to read your emails, but I usually like, I never miss the 4x4. I always want to see what tech, because I have different categories and people are always like, I want to see what tech you're testing,
Mhm.
or, what's this exciting biz idea? Because one of the things that was really hard about being an accountant is there's no creativity. There's no problem solving.
Mhm.
Nothing is new. It's like you follow GAP, you follow the established accounting rules because that's just what you do. And I always found that not stimulating. So the most stimulating part of my business is my favorite part. I'm like always looking at new solutions and new ideas and exploring new tech. Um, I get a wavelength to market something in a unique way, and I will implement it like the next day. So an example was in February. All the the DKIM, like all these new email restrictions came into effect
Mhm.
February 1. So we're all panicking to authenticate our domain, blah, blah, blah. And I got it done. And there was a lot of pressure, I felt like, on sending, that first email that you send, you have to prioritize, get people to reply so that, Gmail and Yahoo know who you are and you're a good
Mhm.
sender and you don't go to spam. Anyway, there was a lot of fear mongering. So I thought I can ask people to reply. Please do me a favor and hit reply, or please click this. Do me,
Mhm.
and I could do that, but I also really believe in serving, right? And so I'm like, if I'm going to ask them to do that, well, what can I give them? How can I bless them for that, like that act that they did for me?
Mhm.
So I came up with, on a whim, the idea, like, if people reply, and this is how you and I connected, right, Lisa? So like
Yeah.
if people reply, I'll just I'll make them a 40% off coupon for anything they want. So I sent this not
Nice.
to my home list. I sent it to a segment of my list. And I hundreds of people replied. They were like, this is so cool. I've had my eye on X and I didn't grab it when it was on sale. So can I get it now? A lot of people bought 4x4 because of that. So it was just a kind of a fun experiment. So I'm always experimenting with things. I, on a whim, did a new strategy for my Black Friday sale last year, and it was my biggest Black Friday sale ever. Definitely will be doing that again because it was bananas. It was so great and it was automated. So I didn't have to actually babysit anything or edit pages or nothing. It was just, it worked. So yeah, I'm always experimenting with the new stuff. So I always have people telling me like, oh, my favorite part of the email is the bottom because they want to see
Mhm.
what tech I'm testing or what new biz idea, what I'm working on or what new inspiration has
Mhm.
come to me. So yeah, anyway, I love writing it. It's my favorite 4 sentences that I write all week. And it's really cool to know that people like it too. So yeah, anyway, the
Yeah.
strategy training is called 4x4 footers.
Yeah, and so how do you decide, because you come up with a lot of great trainings that are useful to people, and how do you decide, like, is it just a combination of what people are asking for and what you see going on what you're going to teach next?
Yeah, yes. I pay attention to, so I have this whole like decision tree. I pay attention to what people are posting about
Mhm.
in the Thrivecart Facebook group or on threads or on Facebook or whatever. I pay attention to what people are, because on Instagram I don't get inspo. I usually, people don't post about like, hey, I'm having a tech problem. Like that's not where
Mhm.
we go to talk about it. I see it in Facebook groups or I'll see it in threads. So, or just in conversations with my biz besties. So some of it is just like, what are people butting up against? And I started, like, for example, last year, I knew a lot of people were like, I want to host a mini membership, a $7 a month membership. Can I even do that with Thrivecart? I don't want to pay for ClickFunnels or something new or Circle. I already have Thrivecart. So I taught a training called Thriving Memberships. And like, that was just demand response. Like people are
Mhm.
asking about it. I know exactly how I would do it and how I would do it like in a way that feels good to you and your members. So I taught that training last year and a lot of folks really loved it. And then, so sometimes it's just what are people, like my friends or people that I'm in Facebook groups with, struggling with. Sometimes it's just the questions that I get. What are people getting stuck on? If it's an existing product, I record a new tutorial or I'll make them looms. I'll do whatever I can to help them. And if it's something that's not covered in the training, then I'm like, maybe that's a new thing. So I'm doing a live workshop next month on like how to design your course platform inside Thrivecart Learn, because it's very generic and ugly. And
Mhm.
I get a lot of compliments on how mine looks nice and it's nicely laid out. Well, I'm finally going to teach that in a live workshop next month. And that was just literally a week ago. A woman named Daniela was like, can you please teach this? And I was like, why, sure. What the heck, And I was like, okay, I will teach that next month. So sometimes
Very
it's
cool.
just what I know people need, and sometimes it's what people are asking me for specifically.
Mhm.
And then lastly, the third category is just stuff I do in my business that works. So the
Mhm.
Google workbooks training on brand fillable workbooks, I've been doing that since 2021. And I kind of got tired of like getting freebies. I was like, can people that are PDFs that are not fillable, can we just make this a Google workbook, please? Like, I'm not going to go digging through my hard drive to find
Mhm.
where I stored, freebie three,
Yeah.
dash 32195 or whatever. Like, I'm not going to ever find it on my hard drive.
Mhm.
I can at least search in my Google Drive and see, I can find it that way. And at least it's fillable. So I finally was just like, this needs to stop. This needs to stop. People need to know why I do this. It's like, and then 4x4 was just an experiment. I was inspired by someone who she sent copywriting emails, which were long, and I usually just skimmed, but I always read the bottom because it was like,
Mhm.
here's my makeup crush, here's what I'm reading right now, and here's what I'm binging on Netflix. And I was like, this, but business, So like I did it, I kind of took it in my own direction. I had my 4x4 footer for well over a year before I finally taught the strategy because I wanted to gather results and refine. So I never just like, I came up with a thing, I'm going to create a training on it. I never teach it
Mhm.
until I've really tested it and gathered data, and really feel confident like this is something that can work for others. So it's a combo of what people are asking for, what people ask me for, like what I get a DM about,
Mhm.
and also like what I'm doing in my own business, my own experiments that are working and that I think people should, might want to try. So it's usually a combo of the three.
Okay. So next month you're coming out with the Thrivecart Learn How to Make It Pretty.
Mhm.
What else is on the horizon for 2024 that you know of?
Yeah. So Learn Beautifully is coming in March 2024. That's the one on how to make your Thrive Cart Learn not only beautiful,
Mhm.
but also like well designed, so it's usable, accessible, all that stuff.
Mhm.
So that's happening in March 2024. I'm also doing a big revamp of my training this month, ConvertBox Jumpstart, because ConvertBox is another lifetime deal that I am absolutely obsessed with.
Mhm.
And I'm always experimenting with that software. It does like 900 things in my business. So I'm like, I should start sharing this. So I'm doing a launch for that later this month. And then later this year, the thing that I did a survey in December and just said, what do you want to learn more about? And I did not make it an open form because I feel like that makes it sort of like too wide open. I gave
Mhm.
people a drop down. And then once they selected from a category that I wanted to teach about, then I asked for a little bit more information. And I gave away like a $150 gift card or something if they submitted their response. I did like a giveaway. So anyway, in that form, a lot, like 40% of respondents wanted to learn Airtable slash automation from me.
Hmm.
And so that's something I'll be teaching later this year for sure. I love Airtable. It does a lot in my business, and helps me make data driven decisions, but it's not approachable. Like the first time I looked at Airtable, I was like, this is confusing. I
Mhm.
don't, like, why is this confusing? I don't really know what I'm supposed to do. Like, how does this work? So it wasn't until I dug in and really learned the software. And then I was like, oh, okay. Now I get it. And now
Mhm.
a lot of people want to know like how I'm using it. So that's coming later this year as well.
Cool. And any big plans to change the Dama Jue business this year? Website, Shopify, anything?
No, I love my Dama Jue website. That was designed for me last year, so I'm obsessed with it. No changes to her. She's doing good. The
Mhm.
Thrivecart Template Shop branding and website are looking a little like I'm feeling the itch to rebrand them, but rebranding
Mhm.
is such a hassle.
Yes.
Rebranding is so much work and such a hassle. So I don't know if I'll do that, but I'm feeling a little drawn to that. 2024 for me, the big year of more bespoke collaborations. So one-on-one collaborations. I still am participating in summits and bundles, and I love them, and they're still such a valuable part of my business. But I also am exploring more one-on-one opportunities. That's a big thing. This is the first time. So I do speak in a lot of summits and bundles. I mean, I speak in a lot of summits. But this year is the first time I've ever been invited to give a keynote for an in-person conference. So it's my first in-person paid speaking
Very cool.
experience. I'm really excited about that and very nervous.
Where is it? Where,
Yeah, it's
when?
public. I can share. It's the
Okay.
Make Your Mark conference by Jordan Gill. It's happening this September in Dallas, and I'm one of the keynotes.
Nice.
So, and it's something I haven't really spoken about publicly before. So, very vulnerable, but also very excited to share it. Very proud of it. So that's the big thing. So anyway, collaborations this year, and I yeah, I'm just kind of exploring some new avenues with how I'm basically trying to wrap my mind around how do I want to teach Airtable? Because it's such a big
Mhm.
sort of topic that how do I want to do that? How do I want to go about it? So that's sort of what's living part time in my brain, in addition to gardening
And volunteering.
and volunteering and interior design and cake baking and bread baking and all the other things. I just like to be, uh, I'm always trying new stuff. I'm always engaged. So it's not just in my business where I'm constantly experimenting and sometimes sailing and sometimes failing.
Mhm.
It's baking, gardening, interior design, construction. It's all kinds of stuff.
All right, very cool. Yeah, we didn't even talk about the beautiful painting behind you. So
Oh,
on brand with your website. I was like, did she plan this? It's like perfect.
yeah. I I was inspired on Instagram. I saw somebody who did this in like a nursery. And so
Uh-huh.
it's green paint, but those are wallpaper decals. So I
Ah, very
experimented with
cool.
wallpaper in my bedroom this year and it
Mhm.
looked incredible for a week. And then it like started to peel and bubble. And I was like, I'm a failure, you know. I'm a failure. So I am traumatized now from doing wallpaper, but I saw these wallpaper decals and I was like, those
Mhm.
won't bubble. And if they do, at least the whole wall won't look like trash. So
Right.
anyway, I found these on Instagram, like tracked down the product, and I love gardening. Like that's one of my passions. And I started
Mhm.
just growing veggies while we're in California. And then I realized like the bees are not coming here because I live next to 101, which is the major freeway. And I live like 20 steps from the freeway, basically in the Bay Area. And I never got bees to pollinate my stuff. So then I started adding flowers just for the pollination. And then it had this cumulative effect. My vegetables did better and I got cut flowers. The cut flowers, like having flowers in my garden brought down my anxiety. And then I could cut them and have them at my desk while I was working, which made me feel good and connected to the earth. And it had this major trickle down effect. So I knew that when I created my website, Dama Jue, like flowers had to play a part in it somehow because they just bring me so much joy. So I went my garden in California was about 40 something square feet and
Mhm.
my yard here is massive. So I'm basically like, don't know what's going to happen this summer. I'm planning on setting up my funnels and my my automation so I can be so I can be outside as much as possible this summer, and hopefully lots of flowers to bring inside too.
Very nice. Cool. And maybe there'll be a nice picture of your garden in a future email.
I'm sure. I'm pretty sure like all my B-rolls are eventually going to be of me gardening or me like digging in the dirt or cutting flowers or
Perfect.
whatever. I promise I'm not going to become a it's not going to become a gardener account, but like that's what's bringing me joy. So,
Good. And so where can people find you if they wanted to connect with you?
yeah. So my primary Instagram that I hang out on is Dama Jue, Damajue. I have the Thrivecart Template Shop one, but that's the poor redheaded stepchild that I have never posted. So it's like kind of neglected. But Dama Jue is where I hang out, where I'm posting. And then hop on my email list. I love it when people reply. I actually have like a door prize kind of thing when for some of my funnels, like you'll be asked a question and if you guess, even if you know, like just guess, and if you get it
Mhm.
right, you win a prize. And I also, one of the things that I do pretty much immediately when people join my list is like, hey, if I could dedicate a whole newsletter to you, like what would you want me to write about?
Mm.
Because blogging takes forever, but I can write an email like in an hour, you know, and so I love to hear what people suggest. And someone gave me a suggestion in a form last month that just like blew my mind. And so I'm really excited to write that one. So anyway, yeah, I would say hop on my newsletter. That's where I like to connect with people. And when you reply, I reply right back to you. It's not, I never outsource my email. it's me. So that's where my favorite place to hang out in is.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, if it weren't for your reply, we wouldn't even be here now.
Yeah. Yes, that is always going to be me. I always want to reply to my people. I love that connection. I just feel like it's, I don't have a Facebook group, right? So my email is my community. So that's where I like to connect with people and meet them and cheer them on. And don't be surprised if you buy like a workbook training from me or a Thrivecart template. If I'm like, hey, can I see? Like, I'm so nosy. Like, I want to see and celebrate with you that you did the thing. So I love it when people like glee when people reply and are like, hey, this is what I made thanks to your training or thanks to your template. And I'm just like, yes, fist pumps all around.
Yeah. Yeah, I can confirm. Like, it's been so great. All the trainings that you had, all the value that you bring in the newsletter. So 100% worth it.
Thank you. Thank you so
So,
much for having me.
yeah. And thanks so much for being here and sharing all of your great information. And if anyone has questions, they can post them down here or join her mailing list and send Dama an email.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, Lisa. This was so much